Are you talking yourself out of something important? Well, that's what we're going to be fearlessly questioning this week as we fearlessly question if it matters with Jared Morris of Copyblogger and host of two pretty popular podcasts. One, The Lead, with Damian Farnworth as his co host, and the other one, Showrunner, also has a co host on that one, I believe. I can't remember, but not that important. But, anyways, running a couple successful podcasts, been involved with Copyblogger for a while. And we're having Jared on the show this week because I really want to go after him a little bit on something that he said on a previous episode of The Lead. And the title of that episode, or the title of that show, was should you walk in the direction of your fears? And him and Damien were kind of going back and forth about whether or not you should always do that without any exception. And Jared might have disclosed one of his biggest fears, and that was that he was afraid of clowns. And he had said that it got to a point where he said, me overcoming my fear of clowns really has no business objective tied to it. There's nothing that's going to happen, positive or negative. It's irrelevant if I ever overcome this fear. And now if I'm afraid to hit the publish button on the next show I record, the next podcast I record, or the next blog post that I write, then that's a problem that might be worth examining, is what kind of his argument was. And I get a little worked up at some of this stuff because we want to kind of only take things to a certain point and say, no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count because, and I don't know why. I'm going to be interested to hear it. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's why we're kind of going after Jared a little bit, and hopefully he'll be a good sport on all this. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But obviously the whole point of this show, when I say this show, I mean not just this one episode, but I mean all of the episodes, the entire fearlessly questioning kind of way of life, if you will, is it's everything, matters. Everything always matters. And not in maybe the way that you might think that I am saying this, but the rant that I want to kind of go on today is that you always want to condition yourself to be moving forward in the right direction. And any time that you tell yourself that it's okay not to, and there's no reason not to, then I feel like you're just, you're letting yourself off the hook. You're allowing excuses to prevail, and to ultimately then just kind of not, set an example for yourself. I guess that's the thing. Are you setting an example for yourself all the time? Maybe you don't need to do it all the time, but are you doing it on something such as, something as important as, one of the biggest fears that you have, whether justified or not, if it's just something that is kind of ingrained in the back of your head. So that's kind of really, where this show kind of comes in, and, fearlessly questioning if it matters. I want to, it's how do you decide? And I mean, I don't think you can. And that was another thing that they kind of talked about is that, they tried to forecast and look beyond that fear and what might be on the other side of it. And to say that you ultimately know what's going to happen once that fear has been conquered or extinguished or whatever, I think is a little short-sighted, because you can't possibly know. You've been afraid of something. You've been avoiding something for so long. You don't know the ramifications that's going to kind of have throughout every corner and aspect of your life. And unless you're committed to kind of, taking on that challenge whenever you see it heading your way, I think you are always going to be more susceptible to the excuse making, to not achieving your fullest potential. Now, obviously, let's keep in mind, let's keep this classified into your own kind of world. We're not saying that you're going to be the greatest human being that has ever walked the face of the earth. That's not what I'm suggesting. But you will limit your personal potential, I would think, as to what you might be able to accomplish and discover. And I'm going to just draw from a personal experience. I mean, if you go to fearlesslyquestioning.com and you read the About page, I kind of tell you about my story, how I started with the whole, I guess, indirectly fearlessly questioning things in my life, and what I found and what I saw happening as a result of it. And it was a strange thing to be a part of because I did not even come close to fully knowing or understanding the impact that it had. And that journey was coming from being a person that would be considered heavy, to be polite, or in a more derogatory term, massively morbidly obese, to be another way to put it. For somebody who had gained a ton of weight going to college and decided that putting the freshman 15 on was going to be a yearly goal, kind of, and I was a little bit forced down this path. But then initially, once I kind of found myself on that, once that journey had already been kickstarted, I took a hold of it, and I ran with it, and then I just really got over, I don't know if they were fears or excuses or whatever, but I eventually, again, lost all that weight, got actually lost more weight than I ever was. I got down to a lower weight than I ever had in college and high school, and ultimately got into probably the best shape that I've ever been in my mid to late 20s. And if I've maintained that level of kind of enthusiasm and fitness ever since. And we're going on, maybe 6 years now that's kind of happened. And, that led me to not only investigating what I should be doing physically as far as, keeping my body in shape, but also what I should be eating and continuing down I mean, it has radically changed, the way that I approach everything. And I say that because, once you overcome that thing, that biggest thing that is out there, that is stopping you, that is holding you back, then you've essentially kind of figured out the blueprint for repeating that, doing that over and over again. Once you say, listen, this is easy, I've done this before, I can do this because, and then you just go down the list of how you reverse engineer that, and you just keep applying it to new different things. And every time you just want to push something off and say it doesn't matter, I think you're letting yourself off the hook and doing yourself a huge, huge disservice. So it allows you to say, like, listen, I know how I was able to get success here. I can just apply that to this thing, and the same will happen. Now, it's always not going to be the case. You're going to have your ups and downs, exceptions to every rule, but that's just kind of, when I say fearlessly questioning if it matters, I think it all matters all the time, just in different ways. And to not limit your ability to take a leap and understand the importance of not letting yourself off the hook and not knowing where something can ultimately take you, and assuming that something may or may not have a benefit, and not looking for those connections and not looking for that kind of thread, that very small thread that is woven between all of these different things. And because we just want to think that there's a business thread and a personal thread and a whatever thread, we want to think that these things live completely contained to themselves, and they go all over the place in ways that we never thought really were possible or could have that type of impact. And that's what we're really going to get after. And that's why Jared's on the show today. And it's always fun when we have a very specific, on the record, like it's recorded, documented piece of thing to kind of go from. So if you want to listen to the show that I am talking about from the lead, I will have that linked up at fearlesslyquestioning.com. It'll be /43-1 is going to be the page to go ahead and make that happen. So again, that's fearlesslyquestioning.com /43-1. And you can go ahead and get the link to that along with any other show notes that I have there. But I will have that linked up there for you to do that as well. Of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'll include that link as well in the description for the video. But all of you listening on the podcast, then you can go ahead, and obviously get over to fearlesslyquestioning.com /43. Again, 43 being the number of the show, and then -1 is, we do 3 kind of installments every week. So I'm the first, the guest rant's number 2, and then the final show is the 3rd. So that's kind of how that works. If you want to figure your way to any part of any show that we've done in the past, show number and 1, 2, or 3 after it is going to get you to where you need to go. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and close this thing down. So I guess I should probably tell you that we're going to be talking with Jared on Thursday, of course, as always, May 21st. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you will come back for that and join us live. If not, of course, you can always catch it on the podcast, and it's also recorded on YouTube as well. So you feel free to subscribe in any way, shape, or form, whether it's on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or of course, love to have you on email, preferably. And I did want to take a really quick moment to let you know, working on something that I'm pretty excited about, something that I think I've been trying to kind of get my brain around for a while. And I want you to start thinking about it and creating your own impact. And we're going to be creating a very special place within inside of Fearlessly Questioning for you to kind of gather and to kind of do a lot of things at a higher velocity, we'll say, and finding the people to do it with. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I want you to think about your impact and how big you want it to be and how you're going to start creating it, because that's what we want to help you with. That's what's coming down the pike here very, very soon. So I look forward to that. But for now, if you just want to be a part of what we've got going on initially, fearlesslyquestioning.com is where you can go. Subscribe to the Fearless Files library, where every week we go ahead and put the guest of the week's answer and question, I guess. They ask themselves the question, what fearless question they're most afraid to ask themselves, and how they're working to overcome that. So we've got all 40, Jared will be 43, so there's 43 entries in there. Go down the list. It's like some of the 2 to 3 to 5 minute most powerful stuff you will see, because it's people, at their most vulnerable point telling you what they are single-handedly struggling with or most afraid of overcoming right now. And these are some of the people who are very successful, who have already done pretty significant things. So learning from that and getting a head start, I tell you what, I mean, it's good stuff. So feel free to head over that. And then, of course, we will get to connect every Sunday morning with a kind of a recap, if you will, as to, what the biggest takeaway from the show was. And we kind of get to have that conversation. So that's it. I'm gonna get out of here. Enough of the housekeeping materials. We'll be back Thursday with Jared. I hope to see you guys there. I'm Joey Giangola. Take it easy, everybody.